Hey guys, welcome back for part B of transformations. So we've already looked at the graph and saw how the transformations affected the parent function graphically. Now I'm going to give you equations, and from the equations you need to state the transformations. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on absolute values. Like I said previously, you've looked at quadratics and square roots in Math 2 with transformations, and it's basically the same concept except it's just a different function. So you're not going to have a square root symbol or the squared. You're going to have the absolute value bars. Okay, but we're going to look at it in vertex form because that is easier to find your transformations. So first we're just going to look at the definitions. It's just going to be a little graphic organizer. So we have f of x equals a absolute value of x plus k. Now, when you have letters, I just want to give a statement about when you have a subtraction and a letter. So right here, I want to focus on this. That doesn't mean minus h. That means opposite h. Okay, so anything you plug in there, it's going to go opposite. So if you plug in a -3, x minus -3 gives you x plus 3. Okay, so when I read this, this is f of x equals a absolute value of x opposite h plus k. Okay? All right, so we're going to label each part of what each letter. So the parent function consists of f of x, the absolute value bars, and the x. So the a, h, and k are going to be transformations. Okay, so the A. The A is going to be your vertical stretch, and you have a vertical stretch when A is greater than 1. Okay, so if A was 2, it'd be a vertical stretch by 2. But if A is less than 1, hit the wrong button. So if A is less than 1 but greater than 0, okay, so what are your numbers between 0 and 1? They're still positive, but they're going to be your fractions and your decimals, like 1/3, 2/5, 3/4. Okay, now not all fractions are vertical compressions, because if you look at 5/4 is greater than 1, so that would be a stretch. Okay, so be careful in assuming that. So a vertical compression is when your A is in between 0 and 1. Okay? It's not going to be 0, because if it was 0, it completely would wipe out your function and you would have a constant. And 1 doesn't do anything. 1 is your parent function's A. Remember? Now, there's another thing about A, and this is the most missed transformation. Okay? If your A is negative, okay, the negative has nothing to do with the stretch or the compress. Okay, that negative, here, let's make some space. That negative means something completely different. Okay, so if your A is negative, so if A is negative, then you have an x-axis reflect, which, remember, we looked at the graph, and that's just where it goes from opening up to opening down. Okay, that is going to be an x-axis reflect. All right, so the h is part of your parent function, okay, but the h is not. Okay, so the h actually is going to be your left and right. And remember how I said it's opposite h? So everything's kind of opposite inside of there of what you would think. So a positive h actually means you go to the left, and a negative h means you go to the right. So if that was x minus 3, you would say the graph went to the right 3 units. Okay? So it's opposite. Now, the k, let's get a color that's different. Your k is everybody's favorite. The k is going to be your up and down. Okay, so if you have a positive k, you're going to go up. If you have a negative k, you're going to go down. All right, so those are the 4 transformations we're going to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to be giving you an equation, and you have to look at this and figure out what transformations are made. Now, when we're looking at these equations, you do not have to have all 4 transformations in an example. Okay, sometimes it could just be 1 transformation, sometimes it can be 2, sometimes it can be all 4. Okay, and there are actually 2 more transformations that you'll talk about in your next level math. But right now we're just going to focus on these. So before I go away from this diagram, let's do an example, okay? So let's do a quick example. So our first example, and we are going to use function notation because we are in that math where we need to be switching to it. So function notation is just where we write f of x instead of y equals, okay? Just a fancy little thing we're going to do. So I'm going to give you the example of f of x equals 3 times the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 3, okay? So anything that is not the x or the absolute value bars is going to be a transformation, okay? So our first one that we notice is the 3, okay? That is a transformation. Now, if you look, that 3 is my a, right? So, is that 3, so when you look at your a value, you have to see, is the 3 greater than 1 or is it less than 1? Well, that 3 is greater than 1, so we're going to say it's a vertical stretch. So we're going to say that is a vertical stretch by 3, okay? All right. Now, it's not negative, right? So if there's no negative, there is no reflect, all right? Next one. Your next one is going to be the 2. So that 2 is new, and it's a plus 2, right? So a plus 2, so my h is right here. So a positive h means you go to the left. So that means we went to the left 2, okay? And then the last new thing I see is going to be the negative 3. So that negative 3 is where the k is, and a negative k means I went down. So we're going to say we went down 3. And that is basically all we are doing, is stating what is there that's not there in the parent function, and then telling me what did it do to the parent function, okay? All right, we might just stay here so we can keep this screen up and look, okay? So I'm going to erase. Okay. Draw our little spot back. All right, so number 2 is going to be f of x is equal to x minus 1 plus 2. All right, so I really just look at this template because sometimes sometimes you gotta look back on it. And I just read it from left to right like I do a book, okay? Is there a negative a? No. So no x-axis reflect, all right? Is there an a value besides 1? No, there is no a value besides 1. So there's not a stretch or a compression, okay? Then I keep going, okay? So there's no negative, there's no a. So let's go to the h. I have an h, okay? So I do have an h here. So this h is a negative 1. Well, a negative h means I went to the right. So this is saying the graph went to the right 1 unit. Okay? Next, let's see if there's a k. And there is a k. So the k is a positive 2. Well, a positive k means I go up. So this is saying that the graph went up 2 units. Okay? And that's it. Let's okay. All right, so let's erase this. Go to the next example. Okay. All right, so the next example is going to be f of x is equal to -2 absolute value of x plus 3 minus 1. All right, so this one, it's got all of them, doesn't it? Okay, so if you look, we're going to do these from left to right. The first one's going to be a negative. If there is a negative, there's an x-axis reflect. Well, look, there's a negative, right? So there is an x-axis reflect. So all you state is x-axis reflect. That's it. No units, no nothing, okay? Because what I need you to understand is that that negative and that number are two different transformations. So if there's a negative and a number, then you're stating two transformations, not one, okay? So once you take care of that negative, it's done, okay? So you're not looking at an A of -2. You're looking at an A of just 2. Just 2, not the negative, okay? So that 2 is greater than 1. So we're going to say that there is a vertical stretch. We're going to do VS from now on, just abbreviate. Vertical stretch by 2. Okay? All right. Next one we see there is a +3 in our K position. Okay, so that +3 means that's a positive, H, not K. I think it's a K. I meant H. There's a +3 in the H position. So a positive H would mean we go to the left. So we're going to say that we went left 3 units. Okay? And then we do have that guy at the end that we call the K value. Okay, and that K value means up or down. It's a negative K. So we're going to say we went down 1 unit. All right, example 4. Let's erase this. All right, so example 4 is going to be f of x is equal to -1/3 absolute value of x plus 1. Okay? All right, here we go. So again, left to right. And if you keep your same procedures over and over again, the same, it's going to help you memorize it more, and it's going to be a lot easier to understand instead of just looking at the equation like, oh, that's up 1, oh, that's left 1. Eventually you'll get there, but start doing it left to right until you get there, okay? And it'll help out, I promise. So, like, look for all 4 of these transformations. If you don't see it, then skip it, okay? So first look for, is there a negative out front? Yes, there is. There's a negative out front right there. So that means that is an x-axis reflect. So we're going to say x-axis reflect, reflection, whatever you want to write. All right, then look at your A value. Is there an A value? Yes, there is an A value. Okay, now you're not looking at that negative. I tell you, there's 2 separate transformations. The negative's gone. So that 1/3, is that 1/3 greater than 1, or is it between 0 and 1? That 1/3 is between 0 and 1, so this is actually going to be a vertical compression. And we say by 1/3. Okay? Now, is there an H value? No, there is no H value. There's no X plus or minus anything. So we're going to skip H. And there is a K value. There is a K value of +1. So we're going to say that that means up 1. Okay? Up 1 unit. Okay? All right. We're going to do 4 more. So let's erase this. All right, so on this next one, when I write the equation down, I would like you to pause the video and try one on your own, okay? So we've got f of x equals -4 absolute value of x minus 3. Okay, so pause the video and I want you to give this one a shot, okay? All right, so now that you've tried it on your own, let's see if you got it right, okay? So reading left to right, is there a negative out front? Yes, there is a negative out front. So that means we have to write down x-axis reflect, okay? Next, do we have an a value beside that negative? Yes, we do. We have an a value of 4. So is 4 greater than 1 or is it between 0 and 1? 4 is definitely greater than 1. So we're going to say this is a VS by 4. Okay, a vertical stretch by 4. Next, do we have an h value? Is there an x plus or minus something? Yes, there is an x minus 3. So that minus 3, remember it's opposite, minus 3 means we're going to go right 3 units. Okay, and we do not have a k this time, so those are your answers. I hope you got it right. All right, let's do the same thing for the next problem, okay? Try it again. Especially if you messed that one up, you probably made like one little mistake. Try this one, okay? Practice makes perfect, guys. So next one, f of x equals 1/5 x minus 5. Okay, so pause the video and give this one a shot. All right. Okay, so I hope you've done it. And let's see if you got it right. So is there a negative out front? There is no negative out front, so there is no reflection, so we skip that transformation. Is there an a value? Yes, there is an a value. There's an a value of 1/5. So 1/5, it's not greater than 1, but 1/5 is between 0 and 1. So we're going to call this a vertical compression by 1/5. Okay? Next, do we have an h value? Is there a number of x minus or plus a number? No, x is by itself, so there is no left or right. But we do have a -5 on the end, and a -5 is going to be your up or down. And so the -5 means we're going to go down 5 units. Okay? So I hope you got that one right. If not, feel free to send me a question. Okay? All right. We're going to do 2 more. Okay, so f of x equals x minus 2 plus 3. Okay, so if you're feeling good and you're on a roll, you want to keep trying, pause it again. All right, and try this one on your own. Okay, so I hope you tried this one on your own. So let's look at what we got. Okay, so do I have a negative out front? No, there is no negative. So skip the x-axis reflect. Do I have an a value besides 1? No. So there is nothing up front here. So there is no reflection and there is no stretch or compression. Okay. So we keep moving. There is a -2 in there with your x. So that -2 is going to be your h value. And that is going to mean we went right 2 units. Okay. Next is our k value, and we do have a k value. It's a +3, and that means that we went up 3 units. Okay. All right. So the last one we're going to do, I definitely would like you to try this last one. Okay. It's going to sum up. It's going to be a summary problem. Okay. And if you get this last one right on your own, then I think you are ready to roll. Okay, here we go. F of x is equal to negative 4, absolute value of x, plus 3, and then minus 6. Okay? All right, so pause the video. I would like everybody to pause the video and see what you can do. Okay? All right, so let's see if you got it right. So first we look for that negative. Do I have a negative out front? Well, yes, I do have a negative out front. So that means that we have to write down x axis reflect. Okay? Next, is there a number besides 1 that goes with that negative? Well, yes, there is. There is a 4. Now, that 4 by itself is greater than 1, sorry. So that means we have a vertical stretch by 4. Next, do we have an h value? Yes, we do have an h value. It is a positive 3. So that means that I went to the left 3 units. Okay, remember inside is opposite, so it means we went to the left 3. And then last but not least, we do have a k value of a negative 6, a minus 6. And that is what it is, and it means we went down 6 units. Okay? So that is it for this section, for part B of transformations, by looking at the equation and stating the transformation. So that's all we did, is I gave you an equation and I wanted you to state the transformations. All right? So I hope this helped. Email me if you need any more questions.